Hello and welcome to the Arsenal and West Ham review, which has finished Arsenal 3, West Ham United 1. Now, it's just me on my own today, so you're stuck with me, so we're going to do things in a completely different order because I'm just talking to myself and you lovely people who have obviously joined in today. I'm going to... 3-1 sounds a little bit depressing, but I think it's probably not fully reflective of the game. I thought we were okay today. I thought for large parts of the game, we were in the ascendance. It was like a basketball game in many respects. We attacked, they attacked, and so on and so forth, and on it went. And I certainly think the 3-1 scoreline probably flattered Arsenal. I'm not going to try and dress it up as something it's not. We're bottom of the league. We're still bottom of the league. And I do think as things stood, that Cardiff had got a point today as well. I think possibly Fulham are still on 0 points. So I think we're pretty much rooted to the bottom. So anyway, what can we do? Not a lot about it. So we'll just try and analyse the game as things stood. And I think the lineup probably surprised a few people. He's quite ruthless, Pellegrini, isn't he? He doesn't mind ditching people if he doesn't think they're performing. And so it went today. The lineup, for those of you that may have had your head under the duvet or something, or just hiding behind a sofa, not wanting to look at the horror show, which I was certainly expecting to unfold today. You might have known the team. The team he lined up with Fabianski, with Fred Fredericks was brought back into the team. Zabaleta was dropped to the bench. He played Balbuena and brought in our record signing for a defender, which was Diop. Issa Diop played at centre-back alongside Balbuena. And Arthur Masuaku played at left-back. Many thought that Masuaku probably should have been ditched. He didn't have the best of games against Bournemouth, certainly not in my opinion, that's for sure. Robert Snodgrass played Ride White. Do you know what? He played on the right-hand side, and that's all that counts. Now, here's the big one, because I think the big key about everything we're going to discuss here is that balance was brought to the midfield today. I thought a lot of the time in the previous two games, the midfielder looked a little bit too pedestrian and similar paced. So for whatever reason, Noble wasn't there today, so he brought in Sanchez to play as a defensive midfielder, and play as a defensive midfielder he did. We had Wilshere, just slightly more advanced of him as the playmaker. And then here's the big one. Antonio played wide on the left, which meant that Anderson was playing centrally as a number 10. And we will speak about all the players individually in just a second, but I just thought that gave our midfield triangle, if you like, of Sanchez, Wilshere, and Anderson. It gave it a blend. It gave it a blend of a stopper, defensive qualities, passing qualities, and then somebody with a bit of pace and an eye for a final ball in Anderson. And I certainly think it helped. Up top was Arnie on his own as Chicharito dropped to the bench. There we go. That was the starting lineup, and I was a little bit worried, actually, I've got to say, particularly when I saw Snodgrass in there. But I wanted to see Anderson in the middle. In fact, I'd actually called for either Anderson to be dropped or to be deployed through the middle. And I thought it looked good. I thought, by and large, the experiment worked today. Thanks to everybody who's in the live chat at the moment. I can see you all there being ably... what should I say? Moderated by Mike. Not that you lovely, well-behaved people need moderation. I see Mike in there. I could just see Alice Fox in there asking about Wilshere. Yes, he did indeed play Alice. Right, let's just get on to the events. I made some notes as it was going along, and basically, I thought Sanchez and Masuaku at the start of the game played very well. There were a couple of very, very good interceptions from Masuaku in particular. Well, I'd say interceptions, they were just tackles. And Sanchez, him being deployed as a central defensive midfielder who would perhaps win the ball, cover the back four, and just play it simply, it worked. It worked as a defensive shield. You know what? The scoreline might not reflect that. But as I say, I don't think the scoreline was reflective of the game. Snodgrass, he set up Arnie very, very early on with a ball through the middle. Arnie was just sort of wide of goal and he shot into the side netting. Fredericks looked really bright. Certainly both our fullbacks looked like they were making good headway. Electric pace, Fredericks, and he also made some really telling contributions and tackles in the same way that Masuaku had done. Antonio as well, he looked industrious today. He went on to have a couple of shots, but he was certainly, whilst Bellerin was the quicker of the two. Antonio's strength was quite telling, and he did have a lot of industry. He looked a lot fitter today than I'd seen him. As I say, not a ton of quality, but I liked it. I liked what I saw, and we were certainly better with Antonio on the pitch than after he went off for Perez, which again we will go on to discuss in a little while. West Ham scored a goal, very similar to against Bournemouth. After 25 minutes, West Ham scored a goal, and it was an Arnautovic again this time. And what I really liked about this goal, it came courtesy of a driving run from Felipe Anderson, who used his pace. It was a bit of a feature of his game today. He was using his pace, he'd get on the ball, and he would just sprint into space. I've been quite critical before of Anderson from what I've seen of him. He seemed to try and, particularly when he was wide, he had nowhere to go. He was restricted within the sort of tram lines, as it were, the invisible tram lines that a winger might usually occupy. He would try and knock the ball past a player and create a one-on-one race, and invariably he would lose. This time, from a more central position, he was able to drive into space, and that he certainly did. And that was what happened with our first goal. He drove into space, was just made a direct line towards the box where he passed it to Arnautovic. They played a 1-2, but Arnautovic was still a fair way away. He was still on the D, and they played a 1-2. He got it back off Anderson, and Arnautovic unleashed a low drive past Petr Cech. A nice goal, a very, very nice goal. And at that point, I don't think the 1-0 flattered us. But as I say, it was even Stevens. It was back and forth at that point. But a good goal. And I was chuffed. And I thought we were good value for it. I mean, I'll look. I can see. I can't really read the live chat at the moment. I can see it's going at a million miles an hour, so I'll never be able to claw that all back. But it'd be interesting to see when I read the comments later on. What you all thought today, because I just think, look at the league table, look at the fact we've lost 3-1, we could be depressed. But is it just me, or did we see the green shoots of what Pellegrini was trying to cultivate today? I think so. I think we did. Okay, what else have we got? Fredericks did a wonderful tackle on 30 minutes. Slid in. It was a sliding tackle, sliding block. It was great. Actually, it was on the left-hand side, so he travelled all the way from his natural position to do it. Just after that, they scored a goal. Arsenal scored a goal, and Bellerin seemed to find space. He seemed to find space between Masuaku and between Jack Wilshere, and Monreal was unmarked. He basically squared it over to Monreal, and Monreal popped it into the back of the net. Now, defensively, it was disappointing from us, and we were poor defensively. But I did think, even though the scoreline won't reflect that, Arsenal were just as poor as us from a defensive standpoint. So they'll be chuffed with the win that they've got today. But we didn't go into our shells then. Anderson put a great ball through to Antonio, who shot. He took a sort of long shot when Arnautovic was square, and he should have really passed it to Arnautovic, and Arnautovic just would have been a far better position to score the goal from. So, yeah, wasn't great from Antonio then, but again, very, very good play from Anderson. It was a very open game. 46 minutes, Snodgrass missed an opportunity to put us 2-1 up just before half-time. I thought it was a key moment in the game. He was only 4 yards out, and he should have scored. You'll see the highlights by the time you look at it. Maybe this evening, if you watch it on Match of the Day, or maybe some highlights will be up elsewhere. It was pivotal. It was pivotal. Where the highlights will do it quite as much justice, but it was just before half-time, which then allowed the game to go in even Stevens. So yeah, I mean, it was. I was still quite buoyed. I'm thinking this is looking very, very good, and it was, because the second half started end to end again. 54 minutes. Just looking at my notes there, 54 minutes. Really, yeah, that was it. Really good run from Anderson. Sets up Arnie again. Shortly afterwards, though, because it was sort of he's gone down the left, Anderson. Arnie was just inside the box, and it was quite a tame shot. Couldn't quite generate enough power to trouble Petr Cech. And Arnie had gone down with a knee knock. He received some treatment on the field, walked off, came back on, tried to go again, but to no avail. It just wasn't working out for him. And unfortunately, I don't know what the severity is. I've not even checked online. So it looks like a knee injury. Does it look that severe? I would hope not, because he came back onto the field of play. And anyway, so he went off. Chicharito came on, and I thought we lost a lot of our punch at that point. Not that Chicharito was bad. Chicharito looked lively enough, but Arsenal had a guy at the back, Socrates, and I don't mean the brilliant Brazilian one or the philosopher. I saw a crap, the worst Socrates I've ever seen, the worst version of Socrates I've ever seen. And Arnautovic was causing him untold problems, really. Chicharito wasn't really bothering him. And what I would say is a feature of this Emery team, what I noticed from Arsenal, they are not afraid to put their foot in, to foul, and to rough the opposition up a little bit, which I'm sure the Arsenal fans would be delighted with, because there was too little battling going on under Arsene Wenger. So they'll have something, to cheer, and perhaps a little bit further along in how their team is progressing under Unai Emery. As I say, there's a bit of a dirty streak to them. They had also at half-time Aubameyang, who had played through the middle at the start, went wide left and seemed to be causing Fredericks a few more problems. And Lacazette went on to play in the middle. Shortly after, Arnautovic went on, Antonio was off, Perez was on. I thought he was poor. I thought Perez was very, very poor. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to dress it up. I'll go through the team and I'll tell you who's played well and who I thought played poorly. Perez, I thought offered nothing when he came on. It was a real shame. There was one ball where he released Masuaku down the left wing. Aside from that, yeah, it wasn't great. 68 minutes, good shot from Anderson. As you'll see, Anderson's featured quite prominently in my notes. And then a fluke goal, an absolute fluke. Now Diop had cleared the ball, and it was a poor clearance. Not a great game from Diop today. We'll go into that in some more detail and do the individual parts, but he cleared it. The ball came back in. The ball fell to Lacazette, and Lacazette squared the ball. He sort of squared it to play it across the face of goal. Nothing was really happening. It wasn't particularly dangerous. I think it could have been easily dealt with, but it was a complete fluke, because where he sort of crossed it to, it basically it came off Diop's knob. Is the it's the only way I can put it, and it deflected and ricocheted in the goal. A complete and utter fluke, and sort of heads dipped a little bit after that. We went into our shells for 5 minutes. For the next 5 minutes, West Ham kept giving the ball away. Repeatedly, time after time, giving them the ball. Like Sanchez did it, Masuaku did it, Anderson did it, Fredericks, not so much. Diop did it again. Balbuena was certainly had a lot of work to do. These are not two good defensive teams, and I'm pretty sure come the end of the season, they will still not be two good defensive teams. So anyway, we were under the cosh. Snodgrass went off. Yarmolenko came on. Took him 5 minutes to get into it. Then he started to look a little bit better. 83 minutes, I've written down here. Great run from Anderson. Crap shot from Perez. I mean, it really was. It was a lovely driving run. This time from more the right-hand side of midfield. Drove in centrally. He had two options to pass to. He chose Perez, who was slightly wider goal, but not prohibitively so. It was an awful shot. It was an awful shot. I think that it wasn't quite as bad as Snodgrass's in the first half, but it's a shame. It's a shame, because that would have made it 2-2. Very, very shortly afterwards, it was Arsenal's third goal. Bellerin basically passed the ball through Masuaku's legs, and it went to an unmarked Danny Welbeck, who had been brought on as a substitute for, I couldn't even tell you. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you. But there you go. That was how I saw the game. Individual performances, we'll just go through them now. I'll tell you what I think, and I'm not going to do scores or man of the match or anything like that. I'll just go through what I think of the individual performances today, and then what I'll do is I'll jump on the live chat and maybe just see what a few of you are saying on there. Fabianski in goal, excellent, very good. I think he's a really good keeper. His distribution's better than Adrian's as well. There were a couple of really smart saves, but I mean, I say really smart saves. Apparently, he had 9 saves to make, which would give the impression that, we were constantly under the cosh. But make no mistake about it, we were attacking Arsenal today. We had a really, really good go at Arsenal away at the Emirates. That wasn't too bad at all. Fredericks, very impressed with Fredericks today. I think there's only I think for Wolves, which is our next game, and I think really our next game can't come quickly enough, but unfortunately it's a calendar week away. I think there'll only be 2 changes to the starting lineup, and I'll say what they are at the end. So Fredericks did well, did really well for me. His pace was a constant thorn in the side, and there was some nice link-up play with Snodgrass, I have to say, and he was a real threat. And quite near the end, he put over a lovely cross as well. I think had Arnautovic had been on the pitch at the end, things might have been a little bit different. So Fredericks did well. Balbuena, he was okay. He was the best of the 2 centre-backs. There was one clearance in particular which was very good, but we're not going to go through this season with our centre backs having man of the match performances. We're just not set up defensively to be very good. So yeah, he was okay. You can't give a centre back top marks when you've shipped 3 goals. Diop started ahead of Ogbonna today. I feel a bit sorry for him actually. He looks a bit clumsy. Looks a little boy lost at times, or should I say big boy lost. I think it's harsh. Don't blame him too much for the deflected goal. I mean, he could have dealt with a clearance beforehand a little bit better, but there were times there was a point in the first half where he sort of clumsily brought somebody down and gave Arsenal a free kick in a position that most people that are half decent at taking free kicks would quite fancy their chances from. So Diop not so great. Masuaku very good today, very, very good. Not just going forward, but I counted at least 3 very good tackles, 2 of which were very early on in the first half, and I thought gave West Ham a certain amount of momentum, or at least killed some of Arsenal's attacking momentum early on in the game. Snodgrass, as I say, he played in that position that I couldn't pronounce earlier on. I can see why Pellegrini likes him. He provided industry. He does nothing flash, Snodgrass, and he is quite frustrating because some things he does get wrong. And I've mentioned and missed. There was another point where he was in a really good position and decided to dribble rather than pass, which was quite odd. But he's not a complete donkey with the ball at his feet, and that added to his industry. I think he played to cover for maybe Frederick's lack of being Zabaleta in many respects. So I think he knows that Snodgrass is going to put in a shift ahead of Fredericks, and I think that's why Snodgrass played. He did okay. Sanchez, I think this was key. I thought Sanchez was good. I really did. I think that we had a defensive midfielder in there, and he looks all right. He looked to play it simple. The only time he did look to give the ball away, which I did mention earlier, there was another time where he tried to play a long, sort of raking 30-yard ball over the top, and it completely failed. Apart from that, when he played it simple, he was very, very good, and his positioning was excellent in front of the back four. Maybe the scoreline gives a lie to that, but we certainly looked a lot better with a specialist in there. And that long ball looked equally silly because about 2 minutes later, Wilshere did one about 40 yards, which was an excellent ball. We went from one side of the pitch to the other. So, yeah, if he sticks to doing the simple things, which is tackling and passing simply, then I think this guy will be able to do a job for us this season, and I would imagine he will play more games in that defensive midfield position than anyone else. But there were signs that the team looked to gel, but I do think a lot of it was down to this central midfield area, which I discussed earlier. Wilshere played just advanced of him, and Wilshere played well today. Wilshere was buzzing around. Wilshere was putting in some tackles as well. By the way, he was passing and moving and just giving the ball to Anderson or putting the ball out wide as much as he could. On the left, Antonio, I think I've already discussed Antonio, no point discussing him anymore, but I think he justified his starting place, and somebody had to go there because Anderson needed to be moved from the left, and I think that was a good shout, and I would expect him to start in the next game. Anderson, number 10, even though he wore number 8 on his back, but played, the tip of the triangle, if you like. Again, I just thought gave really good balance to that midfield, and they just complemented each other. Anderson, Wilshere, Sanchez, and he was given freedom, complete and utter freedom, to go where he wanted. And the longer the game went on, the better he became. I was pleased. I was getting a bit worried about Anderson. He's not a winger. he's really not a winger. He doesn't seem to have a trick, let's say. He doesn't have huge ball manipulation, and he's not going to constantly go past players on the wing. When he's in the middle, he's got options to go right, go left, or drive forward, which he can do at pace, and he can carry the ball with his head up. He does dribble with the ball with his head up, and then he goes on to release his pass. I think that's the position for him. What happens when Lanzini comes back, who knows? But I just think he gave a good blend today, and by far and away his best game. Was he man of the match? Possibly. Maybe it was Fabianski, but it might have been Arnautovic. But he was very, very good today, Anderson. So yeah, brilliant. Arnautovic, I've just mentioned, great. Just really good player. Was less isolated today. People were joining him quicker, and it was a feature of our play today because Arsenal played a very, very high line. So we were able to attack them at pace, and when we countered, we really did. Anderson, Fredericks, Masuaku, that they were all joining Arnautovic very, very quickly. And of course Snodgrass and Antonio as well. There was a point in the first half where they decided to stay high. It was Arnautovic, Anderson, and Antonio decided to stay high. I don't know if they had changed the formation slightly to make them a 3 or something like that, but it was good. It was good, and we caused them problems. And as I say, in particular, I thought Arnautovic caused the centre-backs problems. He was very, very strong. So many times he would position his body between the defender and the ball when it's a 50-50 ball. Didn't necessarily win a tackle, just positioned his body there, and he'd come away with the ball and then lay it off to the oncoming winger or central midfielder or whoever it might have been. Arnie did well today, took his goal really, really well. He's off and running. West Ham might not be with their points tally, but Arnautovic with 2 goals in the Premier League after 3 games is carrying on from last season's form. The substitutes I've mentioned briefly. Yarmolenko came on. Yarmolenko, I wouldn't be surprised if Yarmolenko starts. I said there might be 2 changes. I think it would be Yarmolenko for Snodgrass, possibly, but don't be surprised if Snodgrass does start again. That's a might. There's one that's now done. Diop is not going to start in the next game. I think Balbuena, he's nailed his colours to the mast with Balbuena, even though I don't think this manager is afraid to drop anyone. But the fact that he's started all the games, and actually you've seen 2 different centre-halves alongside Balbuena, I wouldn't be surprised if Declan Rice is given a game, and I'd like to see Declan Rice given a chance in the next one. And Diop just dropped. Whoever's in this squad is going to have to accept that you're getting dropped under this manager. And the trick is to come back and bounce back bigger and better. In the same way that, look what Fredericks has done. Not only was Fredericks dropped from the team, Fredericks has dropped from the squad. He's not taking it personally. He's come straight back in and he's played an absolute blinder. So I will drop Diop for this one. I've mentioned Perez came on for Antonio. Yeah, I'm yet to be convinced about this guy. I've got to say, does not look. If he's going to play wide, he looks too slow to play wide. Doesn't look particularly good. If he's going to play him as a number 10, well, he ain't going to play as a number 10 when Anderson's playing there, that's for sure. If Anderson carries on playing in that position until Lanzini comes back, then when's Perez going to get a play there? If Chicharito and Arnautovic are both on the pitch at the same time, then I would imagine Arnautovic will drop a bit deeper and Chicharito will go up. So I'm not sure what Perez is going to do, but as I record this video now, what is it, 5:30? I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on with Arnautovic at all. So maybe Perez comes in and plays as a forward. Not sure. The other one was Chicharito, of course, for Arnautovic was the other player. Played for us today, so yeah, looked sharp as he usually does. Both him and Arnie got rid of the old skunk haircut, which was nice to see. He was okay. I think Chicharito is all about scoring, but he does look sharp. He does look lively. The thing about Chicharito is he looks motivated. This is not the Chicharito under David Moyes or Slaven Bilic. He was closing down. He looks motivated. I'm under the impression that Pellegrini and his staff are saying nice things to him. Maybe Pellegrini has it in his mind that actually away from home we play with 1 up, at home we play with 2 up. Perhaps he's told Hernandez that, and he's happy enough with his lot. And therein ends my analysis of the game today. Let's just have a quick look at the chat. We got Sonny in there. Hello, Sonny. He said we should start Chicharito and Arnie up top together with Anderson left and Yarmolenko right. I've got to disagree with you, Sonny. You've got to keep Anderson central. Victor Fenn says, who would you play against Wimbledon? I'm sure we've got a Wimbledon preview coming up there, my friend. Cracker, hello, mate. He thinks Perez might be a bit better than Hernandez as a single forward. Yeah, I mean, you might well have a point there. John Jack says we were better today. The scoreline suggested, and so yeah, I've got to agree with that. Ty would switch Antonio for Yarmolenko, and he would keep Snodgrass there. Chris Akabusi's in the chat. Hello there, Chris, mate. No point talking about Lanzini's out for the season. If Anderson plays well in the whole, great news. Yeah, he played very, very well. I was hoping Lanzini might be back. The rumour is January. But Anderson, we're very buoyed to see him playing. We're playing well today. And we're going to need this guy. Yarmolenko played as a centre forward, says Andrew. Who else we got? We got Azuz Karim says we can do so much more. Anderson is a 10 all day long. Sanchez was a breath of fresh air. He certainly was, John. Hello, Alice in the chat. The things are looking better. I'm quite pleased about this. I'm just reading through the chat. Yeah, and I'll leave you people to it. To have a chin wagging in there, it feels better. I thought it was, but I wasn't very motivated against Bournemouth. I was very demotivated against Liverpool. But this feels much better. Cracker has just said in a general chat, this was our best performance under Pellegrini. I certainly think it was. I'm being interested to know. I just wish if we'd have got a point or something against Bournemouth, we'd be feeling even better now. It's too early to talk about relegation, and we are bottom of the league, and that just makes the next week, the next 7 days, a little bit squeaky bum. But I was struggling to find positives from before. There are many, many positives today, and I've listed them all. So we can just look forward. I mean, Victor Venn says we lost today, but he's a lot happier because we played better. Absolutely. Nice to see an improvement, but points are needed, says Kamzab. And sorry, who's that? Rafael says relegation. We're not going down. No. I was not talking about us going down, but I'm just talking about the way it might mentally affect people if we are bottom of the league. But we didn't play like that today. I thought we played with a freedom today. And you know what? If that's what a week on the training pitch does to us since our Bournemouth game, then another week will only stand us in good stead. I mean, Wolves did well today, didn't they? But I don't know. There's been lots of changes. I'm not feeling that there's going to be a ton of changes between now and the next game, and the less changes we do, the more settled the squad will be, certainly. As I said, I'd like to keep Antonio, though. I thought Antonio, I mentioned this in a few videos before, we have some skillful players in the team, and in many respects in football, pace and athleticism and strength, not pace, but athleticism and strength and good attitude almost become sort of dirty words, and it's almost like you damn a player with faint praise. And they're not dirty words, they're good, proper attributes to have. And I think Antonio's been given a bit of a bad rap and has become in for not unfair criticism, because we were an open forum here, and we would have nothing to talk about if everyone just kept stum. We're not a puff piece for the official website. You say how you think it. So if Antonio has a bad game, fair enough, call it, say he played crap today. But I just think the bigger picture, he's had a bit of a bum rap in many respects, because Antonio brings an awful lot to the team, and I think we saw it today. And I think he unsettled Bellerin, and I thought at times he had both the winger and the fullback sort of tied up, and he kept them busy there. So there's lots to be positive about. Ray Thompson, Gonzo's going great watching West Ham. Yeah, and Chicharito is as well. He's going great playing for West Ham. Ray Thompson says Antonio was scaring the life out of Bellerin today. We took him off. We did look worse. There was no doubt in my book, Ray, that Perez for Antonio was a poor switch. Now maybe Antonio's working his way back into fitness, but for the time he was on the pitch, I thought that's the fittest we've seen Antonio in a little while. By Welbeck sold Chicharito, says Karim. Well, I don't listen. Chicharito's a really, really good player. Flower's not impressed with Diop, and Andrew Wickstead thinks Pellegrini set the team up well today. Yeah, I'm going to leave it now. I'm going to check out in just a second. But I think in terms of the players that didn't play well, Diop, again, we call it as we see it. He didn't play well, but I just don't want him to take it to heart if he does get dropped. I want him to come back and bounce back and react in the fashion that Fredericks did. Masuaku's come back. He had a poor game against Bournemouth. Masuaku has proved himself today. Wonderful, both defensively and in attack. And I think there would have been a good call today to swap Masuaku for Aaron Cresswell. So, you know, there's much to be positive about. And I do think we're going to see a very, very similar team against Wolves. And I think we need that, because I think we need that cohesion. A couple of little tweaks here and there. As I say, maybe Diop for Rice, maybe Snodgrass for Yarmolenko. In the main, I would keep it more or less the same. Listen, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. Sorry, it's just me today. Gio is, I think it's a Spice Girls concert or something like that today. So, yeah, he's trying to get Ginger Spice's autograph and whatnot. So he can't join us today. So you're stuck with me. I've also got a very, very bad internet connection. So sorry I couldn't invite anybody else in. You've just heard me prattle on. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. And hopefully you're all feeling a little bit more positive. Enjoy the rest of your weekends as well. I certainly plan to. And if you're not subscribed, please do so to this channel and, of course, our other channel, which is the forum channel. If you look below, you'll just see the link for that as well. We'll be back in the week. I think Gio will be back very, very shortly. Maybe tomorrow. It'll have to be tomorrow, I guess, with a preview for the Wimbledon game tomorrow or Monday. For that, there'll be a review for the Wimbledon game. We've got the fantasy football videos coming out. Apologies for the quality of that one this week. As I say, I'm on holiday, not the best internet connection in the world. So we've got that. We've got lots of stuff, and we've got all your shout videos coming in as well. Keep your opinions coming. Thanks for joining in, and until next time, a little bit more enthusiasm when I do say, "Come on, you Irons."